G'day. Lando Norris crashes out of the Canadian Grand Prix in spectacular fashion. I think a lot of you would have expected this to happen at some point, and that point was today. The McLaren team's been quite upfront with their two drivers, saying they were allowed to race each other. Well, they certainly raced each other today, resulting in Lando crashing out at turn 1 with a handful of laps still left to go and a real chance of him or Oscar perhaps pulling a podium. Now, this is the first time that the pair have come together in their partnership at McLaren. And remember too that Lando didn't request permission from the team at any stage to overtake. The two were actually having a fair fight, and when pushing each other to absolute limit on track, sometimes mistakes will be made, and unfortunately for Lando, it was his mistake, and it was lucky not to have impacted Oscar's race. But both McLaren drivers are extremely mature in their attitudes, and Lando's instant apology speaks volumes to how much he values the working partnership he has with the team and with Oscar. I think they're probably lucky that this incident is a result of a simple mistake that Lando clearly made and was quick to claim responsibility for. This will make their debrief a lot nicer, although I suspect that we'll see a different, perhaps uglier version of these events at some point this year if the two come together and it's not clear who is at fault. I followed Lando back from the media pen to the hospitality suite, and despite him crashing out, he still stopped to sign a couple of things for people and had a smile on his face talking to his press officer. Don't doubt he will be disappointed, and now he has 2 weeks until we race again in Austria. And how do the standings look now for the World Drivers' Championship? Oscar Piastri, 22 points in front of Lando. And with 25 points for a win, that's almost a full race buffer. This took place on Father's Day, and Lando's dad was with us here in Montreal. This is his dad, Adam, who is quite a character, as you can see here. Wears different coloured shoes. Caught him having some fun again with Fred Vasseur, joking with Nico Hulkenberg, and getting up close and personal with Sauber's team principal, Jonathan Wheatley. Now, just quickly, do you have one of my new Stay Passionate bucket hats? You can get yours by heading to the shop at kimelman.com, and we'll send them almost anywhere. Now, the other big story, well, actually two stories from the day, those being George Russell's win and Kimi Antonelli's third place, which was his first podium. And the crowd went crazy for him too, chanting his name a couple of times while they were in Parc Ferme and again up on the podium. I have to take my hat off to George Russell with the way he celebrates a win. Today he was on fire up there on the podium and in Parc Ferme, jumping around, hugging his team and just generally enjoying the whole situation and sharing that joy with teammate Kimi Antonelli. Now, did you see this on television? In Parc Ferme, Kimi was struggling to, I think, get a cable unplugged. So Linda Budabas, who works down in that area, went to help him and probably spent 20-30 seconds trying to do it. Eventually, it took George Russell to come over there. He knew what he was doing and unplug the thing. And then the pair plus Max went up to the podium to celebrate that first third result. After that, the pair went to the media pen for their interviews and then up to the press conference room. And I popped in there for a few minutes to just see how things were going before we headed back down to pit lane for one of the most fun celebrations I've been to in some time. I must admit, I can't think of the last time I went down to a Mercedes celebration where they had two drivers on the podium. But started off calmly enough, as they all do. And then out came the champagne, but it was Kimi who was targeted, not George. There was much joy and splashing around of that sticky liquid, with young Kimi eventually getting a bottle and emptying the remains over one of his crew. Then there were a couple of posed pictures with Bono, his engineer, and also his father, Marco. What a great Dad's Day present that was for Kimi's dad. Let's go back to the champagne that sprayed on the podium. There are actually 4 Jeroboams on that platform. A Jeroboam is equivalent to 4 normal 750ml bottles, but these bottles have different labels. They have an additional Moet logo, top and bottom, different to the standard label, and they're supersized logos too at 120 and 240 degrees. Now, these are delivered to the track by a representative of the company in a big wooden box. They're refrigerated, and when the drivers are in Parc Ferme, those 4 bottles are opened and placed on the podium. After they've been sprayed around and used to drink from, the drivers take them off the podium, and then the trainers will normally grab them and take them to the driver's room. The winning team gets a number of bottles for their celebration shot, but they're not the same as what's on the podium. Last year's champagne sponsor was Ferrari Trento, and I spotted the Ferrari guys at Imola with 3 bottles. One was for George. He wanted an unopened bottle from the Vegas podium with a special Vegas label, so the guys actually produced one for him and delivered it to the track. He would have an empty one, but he wanted a full one. You might have seen this clip today, which Visa Cash App put up on their Instagram page. Well, I can tell you I had no idea what was going on. I was simply walking the paddock, looking at something on my camera, and I felt some water on my hand. Looked up, there was no giveaway sign, and then about an hour later, somebody says, "Have you seen this?" So yeah, they got me good. And still on the subject of having fun at Formula One, as Nico Hulkenberg came in today with his wife Eglay, he peeled off to sign some autographs or do a selfie, leaving her with alpineracer.ch, who's one of their social media content creators, and she just latched on to him. And thankfully, I was quick enough to capture these pictures because you rarely get a second chance. At every F1 race, this man paints something interesting near the Red Bull pit box. And can you work out what this one denotes? Yes, Yuki Tsunoda's 100th race. We see quite a few beavers when we're walking around the track, particularly when we shoot the back of the track through the trees. But today, Lewis Hamilton hit one during the race. I believe he didn't know he hit the thing. It was only pointed out to him afterwards. Of course, these things happen from time to time in motorsport. You might remember Pierre Gasly hit a rabbit in Imola earlier this year. Now, normally I would run through all the cars that the drivers drove to the track, but some of them are pretty pedestrian, so I'll just go through some of the cars I saw out in the car park here in Montreal. Actually, let's not start with cars. Lewis Hamilton rode a Ducati in on 2 days this race weekend, and Pierre Gasly rode a scooter in for at least 2 of those days. Other interesting ones, Yuki Tsunoda in this monster Ford F-150 Lightning truck, and Max Verstappen in this fluoro yellow Mustang Mach-E. George Russell's G-Wagon was a standout, and I had this Ford Mustang, which I took on a 4-day tour around Canada, a road trip, and you can see the results of that road trip in a video I'll be putting up later this week on my YouTube channel. Did you see the detail on the front wings of the Haas this race? Well, this is what it looks like up close. The names of every single person that works in the team, all printed in alphabetical order according to first names, and the most common first name I found was Alessandro. Going back to Saturday's qualifying, you'll remember that Carlos Sainz was impeded by Isaac Hadjar, and when Isaac came out of the FIA garage after that session, he, to me, looked visibly affected, not distressed, but he certainly was uncomfortable, I thought, and that carried over into the media pen interviews. In his defence, though, the team had communicated that he was okay to be where he was on the track, which certainly was not the case. Now, what about Renault's CEO, Luca De Meo, leaving the company? It was announced today. There's certainly a lot going on at Renault. Renault, of course, runs the Alpine team. And recently, Ollie Oakes, their team principal, left for personal reasons, leaving Flavio Briatore to step into that role. So what does that mean? Well, I think for a start it has a destabilising effect on a team. Does it mean that Franco's more secure or less secure? Does it give Jack Doohan any hope of stepping back into Formula One? Whatever the case, it was a strange thing for it to be announced on a Sunday, and a race day at that. I think there'll be plenty more written about his departure in the coming days. Here's something I've never seen. Some water on the ground in front of the Ferrari pit box on the Saturday was creating quite a bit of a stir. Alessandro Fusaro, who is Charles' chief mechanic, was looking up at the first floor balcony. And I think what's happened up there is somebody's had a glass on the ground, kicked it over accidentally, and it's trickled down this wall and ended up on the ground. The mechanics certainly weren't impressed, and one of the FIA people was on the phone quick smart to sort out what was going on upstairs. There is a mesh net, but of course that was of no use whatsoever. And it got me thinking, if you were quite mischievous, that could cause quite a bit of problems if you wanted to drop something into a cockpit of a car. Thankfully, that has not happened. Well, as far as I know. Ollie Behrman is turning out to be quite a character in the paddock, certainly animated when he's telling a story, although at the end of today I did notice that he was in line for a consolation hug from his girlfriend after missing out by 1 position on points, while his teammate Esteban Ocon went from 14th to 9th. Well, the Canadian Grand Prix weekend turned out to be a ripper. The weather was perfect, the crowds were great, full stands even on FP1, and I think that they've done enough to get over the drama that we had last year in 2024. So thumbs up to the organisers. Before you head off and watch one of my other videos, can I ask one quick favour, please? Hit the like button and subscribe for those unsubscribed. And for a whole lot of extra content, merchandise and stuff, have a look over here. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate!
Here we go.